live. So I don't know. I've gotten so confused with this new YouTube where it's sideways versus up and down. So we're up and down now. Hopefully that will show everything okay. I haven't been on in a while, but I've been planning. I've been doing a lot of planning. I've been like in a winter, but in the fall, of a dormant little season of really going inward about what I want to teach and help people with, really getting on a really clear path. So I've pretty much come to it. I am going to be starting. Hello, how are you? Thank you. I love when you say that. That's so sweet. I hope you're doing well this morning. I'm talking about how people should not be able to treat you like shit. Let's just say it. We'll say it. We're all adults here. If you have a kid, sorry. Oh, thank you so much. So, I have had a couple people say they wanted me to do some more lives, so I will try to incorporate some more lives, so you can catch me when I'm live. Hello, hello. Hi Marie, how are you? You caught me live. I think you might have been one of them saying that you hope to catch me live. So we're going to talk about something that's really important. I put out this random post yesterday on my Facebook. Had a lot of poop emojis because it was about people feeling like they can treat you poorly. Like do. The S word. So my thing is, and I want people, especially women, and there are men too, but from a lot of the women I have been coaching, they come in, and one thing I notice that's very common is they take being mistreated and they excuse it. I feel like women, more than men, there are definitely men out there that do it too and are victims of abuse, hands down. But as moms, as women, I feel like we are taught, and now as generations go on, I think it's getting a little better, but we were taught to just kind of be pretty, smile, and shut up and take it, right? And thank gosh that's changing, but I still have so many people that may have some boundaries in place, may not take certain things, but man, when it comes to maybe a certain person or a certain situation, or when you have guilty feelings come up, you let people poop all over you, right? Verbally. Obviously there's physical abuse. That's a separate thing we're not addressing today. But I want you to know, nobody in any circumstance should be able to treat you poorly. And this, I'm going to go down a list because sometimes I think we do think it's okay. In my family, it was, this is your blood relative and you just, that is just who they are and you take being crapped on. And I stood up to that. There was someone in my family that was abusive. I will put it out there. It was physical and emotionally, all the fun things. Possible narcissist. I cannot diagnose, but very, from what I've learned and studied, very typical narcissistic traits, right? Because we are blood related, it's just part of the deal, right? No, I stood up for myself and I did a reel yesterday on Instagram. If you're not following me, Life Coach Christy Jade. If you're not following me on Instagram, it's Fierce Christy Jade. I did a reel or whatever, a reel yesterday, and it was just saying, you know, this is for the people basically who have been guilted by other family members for cutting somebody out who is treating them poorly. And I went through that. And that was almost, I won't say worse than the abuse itself, but when you have people ganging up against you, making you feel bad for cutting off someone who is horribly abusive to you, it's a real mind F, right? It truly is. So that was really hard. I almost broke. I almost said, okay, I'm just going to make peace with this person and maybe keep a little distant because I can't deal with being guilted. But I'm Fierce Christy Jade, so I don't do that. I don't, right? And you don't have to either. If there is someone, I don't care if they are blood related. I don't care if it's your spouse. If your spouse is treating you like crap, That's a problem. You shouldn't have to live with that. I get you chose to marry them through thick and thin, okay? So in those situations, I mean, that's a whole other conversation. You know, I am a big advocate of marriage and staying in a marriage. But if someone is literally being abusive, you need to evaluate, get help, get therapy, whatever you can do. And if that doesn't work out, I do believe at a certain level, if you are being mentally abused to that extent, like evaluate, and I'd be like, deuces, you know? Because God didn't put us here to be abused, okay? And there are actual verses related to stuff like this that does back up the fact that he says walk away from evil people, okay? We can help people. There are people that maybe are negative and whatever. I love helping people, but if they don't want the help, then it's another story, okay? So back to the type of people, oh, it's my boss. I have to deal with it. Guess what? At 28 years old, 28? I think it was 27, 28. I had a boss that was very similar to The Devil Wears Prada. Have you seen that movie? She was just an ice queen, and she, I think, she didn't seem to like anyone really that was like underneath her or whatever. But it was in the television world. We worked in television production. It was a very fun job. It was actually my favorite actual job I ever did in television. I got to work with a bunch of cool famous people. So that was neat. And, you know, at that age, it's just cool. It's exciting. I got to be creative in my job, but she kind of made my life hell. And one day how many times did Jesus walk away when he was treated badly? I mean, yeah. Oh, sorry. Did I miss anything? Okay. We can't, sorry, I got distracted by the comment. So I was always kind, right? Like, I'm not going to come out mean, but she was pretty nasty and very dismissive. And one day I was trying to talk to her and she just wouldn't even look at me. I said, I'd really love you to look at me, you know, when I talk to you, which some people might not do that to their boss. But to me, we're all human. We're all here. We're a team. We're supposed to be a team. I don't want to be in an environment where I'm not treated like that, right? And she did, and then she told me to do something, and it was just, I won't get into the nitty-gritty of it, but I said, well, you told me to go to this meeting, but you have this, which is priority kind of thing. And she said, you figure it out, right? Like, it was very much like that. Like, even when I'm asking nicely, which is priority? You've given me these two tasks. Which would you like done? Because I can't do both at the same time, right? Which would you like me to go to the meeting? Would you like me to do this? Because I can't do both right this second. So, you know, if this is priority, I can do that and miss the meeting or send someone else to take notes, whatever. She said, you figure it out. So I went to my desk, and the thing was, she wanted me to print something. That was this huge thing. And my printer was the like floor printer. We all shared a really big, you know, nice printer, whatever, on the floor. It was not working. And I called IT. They said, we can't get to it till 3 o'clock, da, 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 da. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, I don't have a printer on my desk. We have this printer. Can't work. I went to the one above, and people were using the one above. So I wrote to her, and I said, I sent a little email, and I said, I see that you have a printer at your desk. Maybe you could print it, and while I go to the meeting. Or I said, I figured it out. You know, since it's the only printer, maybe you could go ahead and print that, and I'll go to the meeting. And I went to the meeting. Probably not what she wanted to hear. She was telling me to print it, but she wasn't. If she would have said, stay and find another floor, go somewhere, figure it out and print it, that's most important, I would have, right? But when people treat you like doodles, sometimes you have to figure out, well, how can I pivot? How can I navigate this without being nasty or mean, right? And go ahead and do that. So, so that's just a situation where I didn't really take it. I wasn't mean, but I didn't get in my feelings about it, right? And that's another thing. Don't take the bait. Don't take the bait. So, needless to say, you know, that probably she didn't love that, and it is what it is. So bosses, that's just an example. Bosses, your spouses. Are people going to make mistakes? Yes, of course they are, right? But if it is a pattern of someone mistreating you, it's not okay. It's not okay if they're blood related. It's not okay if it's a spouse. It's not okay if it is a friend from when you were 6 years old. People aren't allowed to treat you poorly. Again, do people make mistakes? Yes. Have I forgiven many mistakes for many people? Yes. Am I perfect? No. But when I make a mistake or I hurt someone, usually it's unintentionally, right? I would say, I don't know if I've ever intentionally hurt somebody. I think most of us don't, right? But I will apologize. I will say, I'm sorry. That was not my intention at all. I'm sorry, right? Because I have a good heart, and you do, on the other end of apologizing, you hope that, you know, people will understand and give you grace. So I of course want to give people grace. We should always give people grace. But if there is a pattern of someone treating you poorly, there is no good excuse for that. None of that is okay. So Mary, are you still there? Any thoughts on this? Any thoughts? Because I want feedback. I want to understand, because I have had a lot of, you know, I'm a stronger personality. I haven't taken stuff from, like, I've stood up for myself since I was younger, especially in high school. I stood up for other people in high school. There were some really, you know, there's some bullies in high school that were mean to kids, and I would stand up for them. So I've always had that personality. So I like to hear other people that may have a high tolerance for poor behavior, your thoughts on that. I would love to hear that. So feel free to jump in now, or on the, you left a job because of bad bosses. Yes. And that's the thing. Yes, back to that. Thanks, Mary, for kind of directing it back to that, because I had another situation where I left a job. I was scared. I was making really good money, and I was changing to a field working with children where you do not make really good money generally, right? I was scared, but I trusted that God always put me in the right direction. And I had it on my heart to work with kids. I mean, I literally would see a classroom. Like when I pray, I was seeing classrooms. So I was like, I got to get out of here, and I gotta teach. And I did. That was after I worked in television production for years. So I left that job, and I was scared. It might be scary. It might stretch you out of your comfort zone. I didn't know how I would live in the apartment I live, which is a nice area, expensive, especially, you know, for a young single, one person. At that point, I'm trying to think, I don't even know if I had a roommate anymore. And God will bless you when you follow his path. I do believe that. So when I said, I'm not going to live in this toxic environment anymore, and you might have a similar story, Mary, where you were blessed after you listened and got out of that, right? Listen to your gut, which can be the Holy Spirit activate. So I got out of that. Immediately, I found a job. I found there was actually a hiccup with the severance, because it's a long story I can't get into. Actually, legally, I can't talk about it, but they made a mistake and gave me double the money. So blessings. And then I also, a guy I was dating, or kind of whatever, we dated briefly, but we're also, like good friends. We dated kind of back and forth. He ended up leaving, and I was friends with his roommate, and that roommate, because they were military, they got stipends, and he said, I know you're in a pickle. Why don't you move in with me and you can live here free, right? What? And it was downtown Bethesda near DC, if you know the area. I mean, it's like one of the nicest most beautiful areas near DC you can live. And I was living downtown. I could walk everywhere. I could hop on the metro. I could get to work easily. And I do believe when you listen to and follow God's path and get away from the evil, the nasty, the poo, whatever, you are blessed. And I've had a lot of situations like that. So yeah, Mary, you know, I'm so glad you left. I encourage other people to leave toxic work situations. You think, oh, I have to stay here. And I was always of the mindset that I may like a job, but it's not the only job. And I do feel like I'm a hard worker. I'm a great worker. And the job is also lucky to have me. They're lucky to have you, right? To me, it is a two-way street. So I never felt, I know they're paying you, right? But in my mind, I was like, I do trust that God will always help me figure it out. The level of abuse was traumatizing. Didn't know people could act like that. Oh yes, in my situation too. And I wish I could talk about it, but legally I can't. But same thing. I remember thinking I was at that point, so that was like a year or two later, like 29. And my bosses were older, right? Probably in their 30s, maybe 40. And I could not believe they were behaving as they were. It was just, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I wish I could go into details because I think it'd be helpful. And this is where I hate that I have this platform and I can talk about these things, but I can only talk so much, even about my own family stuff, to protect, you know, obviously there are things that happened and abusive situations. I can't really talk about it. I do feel like talking about it a little helps, but sometimes I wish I could really get into the details of who, what, when, because I think it just makes it more personal and people can relate on a different level when they know what it actually is, rather than this like kind of vague, yeah, there was someone in my family who sucked, you know. I think it helps when you can relate. But I, for multiple reasons, can't, you know. Obviously, it's not good to reveal everything. Yes, you can't air all of your dirty laundry. I wish I could. I mean, I really do. I'm one of those people. I wouldn't mind doing it. I'm not very secretive. I'm not very private, obviously. My husband's complete opposite of me. But it doesn't just affect me. It would affect my whole family. The other thing, legal reasons, or I would probably throw them under the bus because it was horrible and I hope nobody would go work there. So anyway, other things that we accept, sometimes we feel like because an abusive or narcissistic person can also twist things onto you, saying things like, well, you made me angry, you made me do this, right? And I grew up with someone doing that to me, and that took the longest to get out of. Once I was outside the house, and like, it took so long for me, and I'll be honest, I still struggle with this, where my first thing is always like, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I mean, constant. It is, if anyone gets upset or whatever, it takes me a while to get to the place of, wait, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. Like, so when you grow up with abuse around you, usually those people will put everything on you, and you are to blame for, even if you get hit in the face, that's because you did something to cause them to get that upset. That's not okay. That's an extreme version, the physical abuse version, but there's smaller examples of that where people like, well, I was like that because you you made me mad, you know? They flip everything. They lie and set you up. I would get in trouble because information was withheld. Exactly. So I just want this to be, I wish I had the little, the post I actually wrote yesterday, but I want you to know, and there were multiple people. I put it on like a mom's group in the area, and multiple people responded on that saying they really needed to hear that today, or they need to hear that. And sometimes I forget how many people put up with so much. But a lot of my clients do, and we get past that. And that is one of my favorite things to do, is to help women realize they don't have to be treated like crap. Whether it's their spouse, their friend, their parent, okay? That's another one. I should have written that one on there. Just because your parent birthed you, and yes, I owe you something, I get that, right? Doesn't mean you have to be a punching bag. They stand around and talk about you. Yeah. Yeah. And I had a friend I've had a couple friends that we had really great relationships, but then they also would raise their voice or get mad and yell at me as if I was a child. And I took that a long time from a couple people. And that was weird that I took it, right? Because I'm a pretty strong person who doesn't take pill. So I am not friends with those people anymore. I don't tolerate that kind of behavior. I surround myself with fun people, uplifting people, cheerleaders, your own children who are abusive too. Yes, absolutely. And without saying too much, in the scope of my family, not saying close or extended, in the scope of my family, that is the thing. And a lot of people take it, and that I think would probably be the hardest. The parent or the child, but child, like you created this child, or if you adopted, you raised them, and there is a connection. I mean, I can't imagine, it's probably the one people take the most from, right? And I've seen that, and it's very hard to watch. Family is not a Hallmark card or a Hallmark movie. Oh my goodness. That's so true. It's not. And people don't talk about these things as much as they should. But I'm not okay with anybody being abusive, being nasty, being condescending, talking down, calling names. I'm not here for it. And again, people will let us down. People will hurt us. That is going to happen, and that's not what I'm talking about. That is life. But when it is something that, and you know the difference. You know the difference of like, oh, she had a really hard day and she, got an attitude with me. Okay. Did she apologize and say, sorry? Yeah. Okay. I can deal with that. I can deal with people who hold themselves accountable and say, I probably shouldn't have done that. I was in a bad mood or whatever. Fine. I'm very forgiving in that way. But if someone is continuously not treating me well, there is absolutely no space in my life for that. And there shouldn't be any space in your life for it. So I guess that's all I have to say. It's been 25 minutes. And this is the type of stuff I'll probably be talking about on my podcast. It's going to be very heavy on the boundaries, creating boundaries. And I'm still working on a title. How do you like the Boundary Power Hour? I wanted Boundary Boss. That was like, yes, that's it. I was so excited. There was no podcast with the name. And then I went to the trademark website and somebody already has it trademarked. So that was annoying because I loved the Boundary Boss. I thought it was cool. The Boundary Boss. But the Boundary Power Hour sounds fun. Yeah? You like it, Marie? Cool. I have like struggled, and me and my mentor have been like racking our brains the last week or so, just trying to think, and I'm throwing things, and she's like, just use your name. And I'm like, no, I don't really like my name. And she's like, what about this? No. And so we're like on Voxer back and forth trying to brainstorm. It's been pretty funny. So I had bold and balanced was another one. So if you're on here, pick bold and balanced or the boundary power hour. And it's not going to be a whole hour, but you know, you get it. The power hour within an hour, boundaries, or bold and balanced. And I'm not going to keep it. Pray about it. Yes, Marie, I know. I got to pray again. I did pray and Boundary Boss came like literally while I was driving after I prayed. And then it was taken. I was like, wait, God, why are you doing me like that, God? So we'll see. Bold and balanced, but the boundary power hour feels almost like more, I know it has the word power in it, but like more powerful. Like, let's get stuff done, you know? And I want to attract the people that are ready to do the work to change their lives. You know, not the people that are kind of half-ass, half in. You know, that nothing, no judgment. I've been there. No, I probably haven't. I'm a doer. But I get it. But I need the people that are like, yeah, I want to change my life. I want to thrive. I want to be happy. And I'm ready to do what I need to do, right? I just need a roadmap. I need some help. So anyway, you know what? Before we go, I'm going to do Jesus calling. I'm feeling called to do, let's see, what's the date? The 16th? Is it the 16th? November 16th. Hopefully it is. If it's the 17th, well, I have to call my aunt because it's her birthday. All right. As you look at the day before you, you see a twisted, complicated path with branches going off in all directions. You wonder how you can possibly find your way through that maze. Then you remember the one who is with you always, holding you by your right hand. 16th, yes. You recall my promise to guide you with my counsel, and you begin to relax. And that's true. I do. Whenever I'm in my head and like all stressed out, when I think all you have to do is follow God's path. Like that's all you have to do is pray and wait and listen and trust. It does immediately relax me. So that's very true. As you look again at the path ahead, you notice that a peaceful fog has settled over it, obscuring your view. You can see only a few steps in front of you. So you turn your attention more fully to me and begin to enjoy my presence. The fog is protection for you. Hold on, I'm going to stop there real quick because a quote just came to me, and it's from the Bible. I'm so bad at actually recalling what came from where, but I do like there is some verse or something about you only need the strength that you need for today. Be still and know that I am God. I have that above in my bedroom. It just says be still. So we are given the strength we need for today because, you know, we'll be given more strength. Now I'm botching it. Oh, does anyone know? It's like we're just given enough strength to deal with what we have today. Stop thinking so much about tomorrow and worrying, can I do this? Can I do that? We're going to be given that strength, but all we need right now is today. And that just reminded me because it's, you know, obscuring the view and you can see the few steps in front of you. We don't have to see the whole roadmap ahead, the whole path. We don't have to see the how. We're not going to see the how. Let's be honest. When you start thinking, how can I do this? How's it all going to look? It's never going to be accurate. You can't see it anyway. And if you could, it would be your own vision and not God's vision anyway, right? He'll give you nudges, but he's not going to lay out your whole roadmap. Okay. The fog is a protection for you, calling you back into the present moment, right? Let's not live out there. Let's live right here. That is literally all we have as reality right now. Although I inhabit all of space and time, you can communicate with me only here and now. You can't future it with God. Someday the fog will no longer be necessary, for you will have learned to keep your focus on me and on the path just ahead of you. And I think that's very true. The more in touch, I always say, in touch with God I am, the more I'm praying regularly, which I'm doing now. I pray all the time throughout the day. You know, I do my devotional in the morning. I pray with Cora. We pray as a family at dinner. You know, there's all sorts of prayer and communication and just asking, like, God give me guidance, or God be with me. The other day, someone was not being very nice to me, which honestly, thank God, doesn't happen that often. But someone was being hurtful and I didn't know why. And I got off the phone and I said, I was like, God be with me. God be with me, because I felt emotional. And I'm like, I'm not going to take on this energy. Do not worry about tomorrow, Matthew 6:34. Well, that's a simple one. That's a simple way, right? A simple one. I like that. Do not worry about tomorrow. I mean, we are told these things, and they're, it's like you have this, it's funny to me. Our minds are so complicated, and we have these simple rule books. Where's my Bible? Right? We have the Bible, these devotionals, these things like devotionals, things like this that really simplify it or make it easier, more modern to read, to understand for those of us who, I mean, I read the Bible, but these things, they do help me kind of get more clarity on some of the things I don't quite understand how it's written, depending on the, translation. But we have almost like this simple, it's vague, but it's a rule book, and it is our word, right? It's the word that we are supposed to trust. For tomorrow will care for itself. Yeah. Tomorrow will care for itself. And that is the basic idea. And there was something with strength in it. I don't know if it's the same verse, like the whole verse, or if it's in somewhere else in the Bible, but that's exactly it. So we have these rules, like trust in God. Don't worry about tomorrow, right? Like things are they're working out as they are supposed to, right? Show up. It's like show up, pray, listen, be good to others. We got the 10 Commandments. Like we have a list that could make us thrive and be happy. And our human brain is so complicated that we make things hard when they should not be. If we truly lived by these rules, our lives really would not be hard. The hard things may come. Challenges may come, but we can override them and we can trust where it's not hard in here, right? Like there might be a challenge, but we're not going to feel how most of us feel when we are up against a challenge. So it's something to think about. The more you are in touch with God, if you're a praying kind, pray, right? And the Beatitudes. Yes. So pray, journal, do devotionals, and also help others. That's a huge one. Helping others, truly for me, when I help others, is like such a fulfilling experience. Like no amount of money, right? A lot of people worry about money and things. No amount of that can touch how I feel when I am impacting people and helping people. And like I said, when I see a transformation in one of my clients, like she came in 2 months ago like this, and now she's like this and confident and joyful, when she came in feeling really sad and crappy about her life, that there is no amount of money that compares to the actual serving. So you should be serving as part of your path, no matter who you are, no matter what way. Not everyone's going to be a life coach, but how can you serve? How do you serve other people? It could just be, I mean, like my mom, she's just always, if someone needs her, she is there. She volunteers for the church. She's just one of those people that it's not like, oh, she's Oprah Winfrey out here. But people know they can count on her, and she will bring people food. She will take people to doctor's appointments. Like, how can you show up for the world? And that doesn't mean it has to look big. It has to be big. You've got to be serving 5,000 people. You got to be on a pulpit somewhere. How can you serve your neighbor? I will go take trash up to their house. Random stuff, right? Just little acts of kindness. Go pay for someone's coffee. I've paid for other people's stuff a lot, and it's surprising how I was in the store once, and this is the most touching example of this. I was in CVS, and I paid for this woman's, she just had a couple items. So I just got in front of her, and I said, I'd like to pay. And she's like, oh, no. And then she started crying. And I literally spent $7, I think, on it. It was for something. I don't remember what it was. And she started crying and she said, you have no idea how happy this makes me. I've had a really horrible day. And that just, and she's crying in CVS, right? You can impact people in small ways. So a couple things, right? Don't let people treat you like doodles, okay? And two, how are you treating people? And what are you doing? Listen to God, pray. How can you help the world? Because by helping the world, it helps me. And I know it's not all about me, but I'm just saying, if you're feeling lousy, go help somebody. It is an instant mood boost. All right, more tips with Christy later. I will be back. So 35 minutes of all the things. Hope you enjoyed it. I just thought I'd pop on. I'm glad I caught you, Marie. I'm glad you were here. And I appreciate all of you. There will be more of all this debauchery. And my podcast, I will be starting, I imagine, in the new year, in January. I'm going to be still planning stuff out, writing it all out, planning it all out, which is not very much like me. You know, I'm like a fly by the seat of my pants. But I'm going to plan a lot of it out so I can just go in and every week do my podcast. And I believe I'll be doing another podcast with someone else. Yes. All right. I will do more lives. I do love being able to connect with you guys this way. All right. Have a great day. God bless. See you soon. Don't forget deuces.